Hansu arrives in the city carrying Dialoka on his back. The outsider god comments that his behavior is unlike an outsider and advises him to abandon the demon. However, Hansu explained that he couldn't abandon her because she was the new translator, as the previous translator, Kogmos, had left, saying that he would return after becoming stronger. The god feels uncomfortable and leaves, and arrives at the temple. There, she checks the schedule and learns about a tournament where the winner's reward is a holy sword and the opportunity to be admitted to the Magic Academy, Hogwarts. The outsider god loves the idea of getting into Hogwarts Academy. Meanwhile, Hansu arrives at the inn and lays Dialoka down. He checks his stats and notices that the outsider's blessing is present, which means the outsider god didn't abandon him. The inn's employee appears and asks about Dialoka being a demon. Before Hansu can reply, his curse massacre is activated, causing the girl to get scared and run away. Although he understands that it's happening because of his curse, it doesn't bother him. While thinking about getting revenge on the thieves who attacked them in the market, the outsider god returns and mentions that her journey was solitary and demands a compliment. After receiving a compliment, God asks Hansu where he is going. He informs her that he is planning to get revenge on the thieves. Outsider god urges him to go to the academy, but Hansu says he'll decide after teaching the thieves a lesson. Outsider god doesn't believe him and throws a tantrum, demanding that he promise to go to the academy. But Hansu replied that he would promise if the god helped him teach the thieves a lesson, to which the god agreed. Later, he went to the merchant, and with the god's help, he was able to communicate and buy some slaves to attract the thieves' attention. While they are talking, Hansu is shot by an arrow from one of the thieves, but he easily deflects it and mocks the thief, which causes their boss to confront him with his team. As the fight begins, the outsider god tells Hansu to quickly finish the fight and go to the academy. Hansu agrees and rushes towards them, beating them one by one. The outsider god spins around happily and tells Hansu to quickly massacre them. After defeating all of them, Hansu hands the thief over to the guards and receives money as the thieves have a bounty on them. The guards have brought slimes to clean up, but Hansu notices that the slimes aren't cleaning the bone. The guard informs him that the bone is a special material, and the slimes are trained not to eat it. The outsider god tells Hansu to go to the academy, and he asks what's there in an academy. The god replies that he'll find out when he's there. While they are talking, a knight calls out to Hansu from behind, saying something that he misunderstands as the knight trying to capture him for Alsus's death. However, the outsider god translates and explains that the knight is actually requesting to buy the bone from him, as he plans to use it to make a gift for his son who will be attending the academy. As the god continues to urge him to attend the academy, Hansu tells the knight that he'll sell the bone on the condition that he lets him attend the academy. The knight says something that Hansu doesn't understand, and the god becomes angry, stomping on the ground to indicate that the knight declined. As Hansu plans to negotiate further, Dialoka appears behind him. Seeing a demon, the knight was about to unsheath his sword as demons are their natural enemies, but quickly realizes that she is Hansu's slave, as she keeps calling him master. The outsider god urges Hansu to negotiate quickly, but when no results are achieved, the god comes up with a plan and goes somewhere. A few moments later, a giant red dragon appears, and as it gives a menacing speech to the humans, it realizes that its level is 1. Hansu quickly figures out that it was the outsider god's doing. Angry that its level was reduced to 1, the dragon breathed fire into the city, and the knight rushed to attack it. The outsider god suggested to Hansu that he defeat the dragon quickly, and showcase his skills to the knight in order to gain the knight's recognition and enter the academy. Understanding the god's intention, Hansu drew his sword, which Dialoka instantly recognized as the holy sword, and she asked Hansu if he was a hero, to which he replied that he isn't and that the sword is defective. As the dragon continued to breathe fire, soldiers prepared their bows and shot arrows at the dragon, further angering it because it was being attacked by mere humans. Just as the dragon was about to breathe fire at the soldiers, the knight arrived and used his sword to block the breath, surprising Hansu, as he didn't expect the knight to be able to block it. Dialoka then informed him that it was expected since the knight was a protector of the country, and the dragon wasn't in normal condition. Although the knight managed to protect some soldiers, he couldn't save those who were crushed by the dragon's claw. As the dragon slew more humans, it realized that it could level up, so it planned to massacre the entire city to regain its levels. Hansu commanded Dialoka to distract the dragon while he prepared to slay it. which she accepted, and rushed towards the dragon. In a short amount of time, the dragon had already reached level 27. As Dialoka approached the dragon, it quickly recognized her as a high-ranking demon and planned to use her as experience material. She began collecting mana and used it to throw a beam at the dragon, piercing its wings and injuring it. This enraged the dragon, and it breathed flames at her, but she used mana to create a shield and barely managed to block it. While Hansu is scolded by the outsider god for not acting quickly, he tells the god to be quiet and uses his blessings, Outsider, Fairy, and the curse, Holy Sword, to launch an ultimate attack that easily beheads the dragon, causing its demise. This shocks both Dialoka and the outsider god. Before dying, the dragon learns Hansu's level and feels humiliated to be defeated by a level 1 human. So it gives Hansu a curse called King's Wrath, which provokes nearby dragons. If his life is in danger, he will be attacked by dragons. While devastated by receiving another curse, Hansu notices Dialoka's happiness upon seeing her stats. He asks how she can be happy when her master is cursed, to which she replies that it's not the case. Instead, she received a blessing called King's Wrath that puts pressure on nearby dragons, and if her life is endangered, the dragons will protect her. Hansu then turns to the knight, who quickly looks away, indicating that even he received that blessing, which causes him to become more depressed, while the outsider god praises him with a bright smile. Later, Hansu uses slime to manage the collection, but is disappointed that he has to give everything up to the kingdom. If he doesn't, he might get executed, or even worse, caught by the evil god. Meanwhile, the citizens cheer for the knight as he parades the dragon's head around the city. Later that night, Hansu tells Dialoka to inform the knight that he will be giving all of his loot to the city's restoration and the families of the deceased. However, Dialoka twists some words while conveying the message. Hansu then notices a cloud forming above them, which transforms into a bone dragon. Dialoka informs him that it might be the dragon's soul harboring rage towards him, summoned as a physical entity. Hansu thinks that it's not a threat to him as he already defeated a living dragon, and this is just a bone dragon. Meanwhile, in the temple, the saintess announced the tournament, and the nobles argued about which hero was stronger. Arya hid behind Eubora and informed her that her mother was looking directly at them from the VIP seat. Arya hadn't seen her mother since she left home. Eubora encourages her to be bolder, because if she keeps hiding, her mother might be disappointed. Arya agrees and decides not to hide anymore. She then asks Eubora if she would help another hero in trouble, to which Eubora replies that she would because it's something Hansu would do as well. Realizing she thought out loud, she quickly tries to hide her emotions. As the saintess starts the tournament, Choi and his team rush to a carriage they had prepared beforehand, while Eubora uses her blessing sprint to run faster, carrying Arya. Mion also prepared a carriage and left with her teammates. Later, the saintess's subordinate informs her that the Red Dragon King, Al-Kaiser, has been resurrected. The saintess quickly recognizes it as she had defeated the dragon alongside a hero hundreds of years ago. Her subordinate thinks that a god might have resurrected the dragon, but she disagrees. The gods would never do such a thing without a reason, and there wasn't even a hero present at the location. She quickly realizes that all the heroes are in the tournament, except for Kang Hansu, and she suspects that there is a god helping him hide from the goddess of heroes. As she went in panic mode, her subordinate informs her that the dragon has already been subjugated. The dragon was at a level where a knight could stop its breath. Hearing this, she concludes that it is not the Dragon King because it's impossible for a knight to stop a Dragon King's breath. She decides to put the matter aside and focus on the tournament instead. At the same time, Oh Hanwoo didn't get a single carriage. Then Julia called out to him, asking what a hero was doing there. As Oh Hanwoo looked at her, he couldn't see her body or her stats because of his curse, see-through. He then used his special blessing on Julia, which compelled her to give him a ride, and they set off for the Orc's forest. Meanwhile, the city where Hansu had been was destroyed, and Dialoka was badly injured. Hansu was angry for some reason while two bone dragons fought above him. A few moments ago, as Hansu slew the first bone dragon, his blessings Outsider and King's Wrath simultaneously activated, causing him to summon many skeleton dragons that were after his life. As the knight was attacked, his blessing King's Wrath activated, and another bone dragon was summoned to protect him, causing the dragons to fight each other. At some point, even Dialoka got knocked up. Hansu then decided to finish it, and used his sword to slay all of the dragons at once. After all the dragons had died, Dialoka asked Hansu if he knew what caused this, to which he replied that it was because of his blessing outsider. Unlike werewolves who get their power by eating meat, he gets his powers by using his life force. King's Wrath curse triggers every time his life is in danger. An outsider, which resets his stats, causes an infinite loop that keeps summoning dragons. But at some point, even his curse got reset and stopped. As the dragon bone was still a rare material, Hansu decided to give all of it to Dialoka. Then, the knight rose up from the grave of bones and requested Hansu to go to the academy together with his son, which made the outsider god extremely happy and praised themselves for the perfect plan. Having no other choice, Hansu accepted the invitation and arrived at the knight's mansion to meet his son. During their dinner, Dialoka translated the knight's words and explained that he wants Hansu to go to the academy with his oldest son instead of the youngest. The youngest already had a partner, while the oldest had dropped out but could return to the academy. Hansu agreed, which made the parents happy. Dialoka then mistranslated their words and falsely claimed that they wanted to bribe him with money. Hansu quickly realized she was lying. He then instructed her to translate that he had accepted the offer. Dialoka complied and said that Hansu wanted to see the face of the disgraceful son who hides when there are guests in the house. Before Hansu could stop her, he noticed the knight and his wife on the ground, crying. He asked Dialoka what she had said, and she replied that she had done an excellent demonic translation. Later, when Hansu was resting in the guest room, he asked Dialoka if she had any information on the academy. She informed him that the academy was founded by humans to oppose the demons and taught about battle. Despite all their efforts, humans were still weak, so it had become a place for networking. At the end of the explanation, the knight's oldest son appeared and challenged Hansu to a duel, calling him level 1. Hansu quickly understood his words without translation, and since the guy's father put his son in Hansu's care, he planned to teach him a lesson by giving him a good beating. While beating the guy, Hansu tells him that his father had done so much for him, so he should at least perform his duty as a son. The guy finally faints due to Hansu's beating. Hansu then remembers the scenario when he told the goddess to send him home as he worried about his family. He quickly snaps out of it and realizes that he has gone too far. Dialoka informed him that the guy didn't die and was only unconscious. Later, when the guy regained consciousness, he quickly tried to run away, but he was shot by Dialoka's mana and fell unconscious again. Hansu then asked Dialoka what they should do with him, to which she suggested that they should make his body unrecognizable to avoid being executed. Hansu quickly declined and took him to the knight, who brought a healer to heal his son. Upon waking up, the guy quickly tried to attack Hansu. Seeing that the guy hadn't learned his lesson, Hansu used his Curse King's Wrath to summon a bone dragon and got crushed in its jaw, which scared the guy. Hansu then broke the dragon's teeth and emerged from it, saying that they would be good friends. Meanwhile, in the temple, the saintess received a message from her subordinate, who informed her that the incident involving the dragon had been closed. Although there was significant damage to the city, there weren't many casualties. The subordinate also informed her that the head of Hogwarts Academy wanted to have a talk with her. As she connected her communication orb with the academy, a green-haired lady greeted the saintess and teased her for her cold personality. Just as the saintess was about to hang up, the lady got straight to the point and informed her that they were planning to open an underground labyrinth so freshmen could study alongside the heroes. The saintess was surprised because the labyrinth had been sealed for a long time, and they had managed to succeed in unsealing it. The labyrinth was a place where gods used to overuse their power in the mythological ages, and that's why the relics in the labyrinth possessed extraordinary power. However, along with that power came great dangers. As it could be a valuable experience for the heroes, she promised to send them to the academy after the tournament ends. As their conversation ended, the saintess wondered how many heroes would survive. Meanwhile, Julia introduces Leisha to Oh Hanwoo, and as he greets her, he falls into a delusion of having them fall in love with him. However, Leisha doesn't reciprocate his feelings. She quickly understands the context of the tournament and checks Oh Hanwoo's blessings. She notices that he has many low-rank blessings despite being just level 6, so she mistakes him for someone chosen by the gods. However, she isn't that impressed, as she has already seen Hansu, who is far more capable. Later that night, they didn't find any orcs. After analyzing the surroundings, Leisha figures out that another party must have arrived before them. Looking at the slime that is still cleaning up the area, it means that the party must be nearby. As Julia follows the slimes, she comes across orc bodies. After analyzing their burns and cuts, Julia quickly deduces that the team must consist of a swordsman and a sorcerer. Suddenly, Oh Han-woo hears the sound of someone fighting. After following it, they witness Eubora and Arya battling orcs. Eubora uses her fire magic while Arya uses her swordsmanship. As Arya is about to be attacked, Eubora uses her warrior blessing to block the blow and easily defeats the orc. Oh Han-woo calls out to Eubora, questioning how a meat class president could be so strong. She replies that excellent students with high overall performance always become class presidents, and it's the same here. The only difference is that this is happening in a fantasy world. Oh Han-woo refuses to believe this, as he read in the novel that only protagonists are supposed to be strong. A certain male god shakes their head, and the childish god lightly agrees with them. As Eubora and Arya are leaving, Oh Han-woo shouts at them, expressing his wish for her to get second place. In response, she mocks him, saying that she wishes him to get first place. He misinterprets her words by thinking that she is cheering for him, and assumes that she is the female protagonist who will also fall in love with him. Another god seriously wonders if a powerful curse has to be placed on him. As they were distracted, orcs emerged from behind Leisha and Julia. They quickly prepared for battle, but Oh Han-woo insisted on fighting them alone and told them to stay back and watch. He used fire magic to attack the orcs, but due to his curse, hunting, which strengthened all nearby monsters, his fire magic had no effect on the orcs, and he was sent flying. Although he hit the ground really hard, he was able to survive thanks to his blessing, survival, which increased his chances of not dying. If he wondered how he survived, he would get a headache. Leisha and Julia realized that heroes aren't that big of a deal compared to Hansu, who had defeated a level 16 orc despite being only level 1. Leisha then asked Julia if they would be able to meet Hansu again, to which she replied that they would if he came to the academy. The fight began with Julia using her swordsmanship, and Leisha employing her magic to attack the orcs, who were strengthened because of Oh Han-woo's hunting curse. Despite that, they were able to defeat all the orcs. Leisha asked Julia what they should do about the unconscious hero. She suggested Julia carry him on her back, but Julia declined, saying her back hurt. Leisha also complained of back pain, indicating that neither of them wanted to carry Oh Han-woo. Observing the scenario, a certain evil god burst into laughter. Meanwhile, Choi arrives in the forest and sees Mi-yeon, who caught up with them using a carriage. He calls her a coward, and she responds by pointing out that he was the one who used the carriage first. Choi warns her not to disturb him during his hunting. In response, she mocks him, stating that his weak threats won't work. Unable to tolerate her mocking, he leaves. Later, Choi begins hunting by commanding his team to use fire magic, while he utilizes his swordsmanship to deliver the final blow. While Mi-yeon's team is surrounded by orcs, and one of them has even lost an arm. Mi-yeon herself is also cornered by orcs due to her blessing charm. Realizing the situation, she quickly shouts for help, and the guy who lost his arm rushes to protect her, but stumbles upon a dead orc's arm and falls. Another team member suggests that Mi-yeon be used as bait while they run away, as she has the saint's backing and probably wouldn't die. The guy with glasses agrees with the idea. Mi-yeon is shocked that her teammates betrayed her and regrets not returning to Earth with Hansu. She then resigns herself to being the bait, but the guy who lost his arm, Baek Ilman, refuses to run away and tells Mi-yeon not to give up. She ignores him and lures the orcs using her blessing to the other side, and as they capture her, she closes her eyes, awaiting her demise. Then she hears Baek Ilman's voice, and as she opens her eyes, she sees that his arm has miraculously healed, and all the orcs are defeated. Baek Ilman then faints, while a certain demon god is proud of the contract they made. Later, as the tournament ends, the Saintess is surprised by the outcome, as according to her plan, Eubora should have won. Her subordinate advises her to inform Hero Choi about Hansu's bag, and requests his cooperation. However, the Saintess believes that Hero Choi is still not trustworthy enough. She decides to put the matter about Hansu's bag aside for now, and gets ready to announce the tournament's victor.